Oh, hey. Good evening, good people. I am Andy Behrens. He's Dalton Del Don. Jointly, we are the proprietors of the Deep Shot. Just a couple of rejects from Big Fantasy over here. Tonight, we're live on YouTube and X. Normally, I would limit this thing to subscribers only, but I thought, I'd swing open the doors this one time to whatever random bots want to come in, whatever weirdos and goofballs are out there. Come on, ask your questions. Week 6, nearly behind us, Dalton, but not just yet. We get another Monday Night Football double header tonight. I kind of like them. Bills and Falcons is the opening act for the game that everybody's talking about, at least my household is talking about. The Bears and Commanders. We'll see if Caleb Williams can maintain his comfortable lead in the MVP race. I expect he can. How are we doing? What do we need tonight? What are we expecting?
Tonight, I'm looking for JCM, seeing if it's for real. Last week, what's Bill's encore? We certainly saw a great one from Rico Dowdle. Let's see what Krusky Merritt can do. I have some James Cook in a couple important leagues, but let's not kid ourselves. Obviously, it's a Bears night, so this is Andy Barron's night. And how does Caleb do on center stage?
I feel like the JCM story is also a Bears story. Like it's it's an ascending player facing a defense that's giving up 6.2 yards per carry. That was absolutely they've been gashed most weeks. So it's a great setup for JCM. Do you have him going in a bunch of places? I have him going in 3 places, I think.
Just I believe one. I don't have as much as I'd like to because he certainly looks like a lottery ticket that worked out. So I wish I had more JCM, but no. So I guess the theme this week was super low scoring. I didn't realize it. I had a couple of big weeks and I didn't realize that a 150 was a huge score this week. The average of the ESPN sleeper Yahoos was like 81 or something this week. I don't know if that was a real tweet, but the scoring was way down. And I have
Right?
an NFFC RotoWire league that dropped 198 this week, and I'm
Oh,
suddenly
hell
like
yeah.
65th overall. So I'm kind of fired up. I have a couple live teams on NFFC that I'm pumped for.
Good. I feel like I've put up 1,000,000 points in Fishbowl this week. I had Dowdle, I had Kimani Vidal, who we'll get to in a second. So yeah, this was. I don't know. I feel like I had a better week, I guess, than the masses. That's cool. Couple.
Fishbowl, can I just say I totally read wrong the scoring, and I was like, I came out of the draft with one running back, Jalen Warren, and the first week when I saw the
Yeah.
projections, I said, because he was like projected to score more than my second round Brian Thomas right away. And boy, it's proven true to not have running backs in that format. The workhorses has been a mistake. I did well drafting a ton of backup tight ends late, so I can fill that roster easily because
Yeah.
they score so many. I think it's in sleeper, it's like times 3. But man, that was the most egregious not following your scoring format that I've done in a while, because running backs was the way to go in Fishbowl, and I went crazy avoiding them almost altogether.
I had the first pick in we're not going to talk about Fishbowl all night. Don't worry about it, guys. But I had the first pick in Fishbowl in my draft, and I was really I was thinking hard about
Bowers.
two ideas that would have been really bad. One was Brock Bowers because of the tight end premium scoring, which is like the most random tight ends. Tight ends who are doing almost nothing are scoring pretty well in Fishbowl. Which, hey, it's those are the settings. It forces really fun decisions. So kudos to Scott. But it was like I was thinking Bowers, I was thinking Lamar Jackson, because I felt like, man, if you could have 2 difference-making quarterbacks slotted into the 2 available QB spots, it'd be great. Or Bijan Robinson, and I ended up taking Robinson, which I just emphatically the right answer, right?
Yep.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor would have been a better answer, but Bijan Robinson is a fine answer there. So that's been good. Anyway, it's a good season underway. I think I played the settings reasonably well. Great settings this year, by the way, in Fishbowl, because it really made you think about quarterback, really made you think about the value of running backs versus receivers, and really made you sweat tight ends and what you were doing with them. So I enjoyed it very much. Let me hit you with it. Just a couple things before we take some questions from the people. Brian Callahan fired today in Tennessee. This is probably a very brief fantasy discussion, right? Because there's not a lot of fantasy assets there. The Titans just sort of following a wildly popular trend of drafting a quarterback first overall and then immediately firing the head coach during your franchise QB's rookie season. Shout out to them. Just give me a temperature check on the Titans in fantasy. It's Tony Pollard, and I don't know. You care about anybody else? Cam Ward might get sacked 70 times this year. He's on pace for it. He's only thrown 3 touchdown passes. I don't even think he looks that bad.
Even Tony Pollard's losing work to Spears now. Calvin Ridley, the worst. Once fantasy managers were finished with him, then he looks good. He looks healthy. Great matchup against the Raiders, cheap price and DFS. And then he leaves immediately with an injury. So, I mean, no, it's not a lot to like there. I don't know, man. Cam Ward, it's super early, but this is what they call an inauspicious start to your NFL career. He dropped the football. He threw and gifted it. They look bad. They might finish this season 1-16 in their lone victory, knocking me out of Circuit Survivor against Arizona. It's in the realm of possibility of them only winning one football game this season.
Yeah. It's I will say there have been plenty of games where, like, Cam Ward hits guys in the hands and the balls don't get caught, or they're like half caught and guys are ruled out of bounds. I don't know. Rough year. Like, the other stuff is just very common first-year quarterback stuff where you just simply don't have as much time in the NFL as you do in college, right? Like, you can't just extend plays forever. That you're going to pay a price for that. He's taken a few sacks that have bumped them out of field goal range. That's all been bad, and he's thrown late, and there are problems. But I think you can see plenty of moments where Cam Ward looks fine. Obviously, it's the Titans; they're basically untouchable in fantasy. We don't have to dwell on it. Puka Nacua, ankle injury. It doesn't sound like a lot of stuff often looks severe with Nacua, and then it turns out not to be severe. Doesn't sound like a severe thing, but the team is headed to London, to the home of the Jaguars. Doesn't seem like we're going to have him in week 7. I don't know. That's presumptuous. Maybe we will, but if I had to bet on it right now, I would say probably we don't. What are we telling people beyond, even more Devontae Adams?
Yeah, I would assume they're going to rest him because of the bye afterward. He was able to return at the end of that game for a few snaps in like a blocking situation, but it looked severe at first. Yes, Adams, will be top, whatever. You can rank him as high as first, second, or third this week if against a pass funnel Jacksonville defense. If Puka Nacua is out, and then Whittington, I guess, would be the sleeper. He saw a lot of work in the slot. I mean, he would be a deeper sleeper. They don't throw to their tight ends. I mean, they'll just probably run the ball more. But hopefully, Puka avoided a disaster, and fantasy managers have to be happy. If he misses just one game, that bye week might be perfect timing, and then come back and just go on that record-setting pace he was on.
Last thought before we check in with the people. Kamani Vidal. It was pretty good. He's not, still stylistically, I don't know if he's my favorite back. He's not fast, but he's got quick feet, good hands. I was pretty impressed. And there is a difference between him and Hassan Haskins, I think. Broke off a few long runs, mostly, particularly to the left side. Also, it was Miami. So a huge grain of salt, right? It's a matchup that the guys have crushed all year. How are we feeling about Vidal going forward?
The clear waiver wire guy this week, and go ahead and be aggressive at this time of season. I mean, I'm going to have him as my preliminary RB20 this week. I predicted it would have been Haskins the majority of the work. I thought the Michigan ties, which is ironic because normally I'm all about the younger, more upside guy, and obviously Vidal has the juice. He's the guy that should lead the committee on a team that has, a bunch of offensive line injuries and not the best running the football, but they are throwing to their backs more than a Greg Roman offense ever has. And they continue to last week, despite their top 2 running backs being down. And Herbert, is awesome. And once Quentin Johnson gets back, maybe their offense starts playing like it did the first couple of the weeks of the year. And then you have a very good situation to be that running back. So like I said, RB20 this week, preliminarily ranked. So be aggressive, grabbing him. And also Hampton, didn't they just reveal that he's not going to be ready immediately?
Not going to be ready immediately when he comes off IR.
We might get another 4, 5, 6 games. So yeah, I mean, I hear you. It's not perfect. And these coaches switch weekly their usage. But given the rest of the waiver wire landscape and the running back landscape, I would be aggressive and go after Vidal.
What do we got here? I should probably mention that Dalton Kincaid inactive tonight. That's a little bit of a surprise. Not a surprise to Mark Stopa, who flagged it for us. Shout out to Mark. So does it help anybody? Does it help anybody that you can pick up? I guess it theoretically can help Dawson Knox. It can theoretically help Jackson Hawes. It can theoretically help Khalil Shakir, who you can't pick up. Hugely impactful, probably not, but he was surging a little bit.
Yeah, if you're playing DFS tonight, Dawson Knox is the cheapest in DraftKings, and I think he ran the most of the routes. So he ran 38% of the routes. Kincaid ran 66%, and Hawes ran 3% of the routes and a 30% snap share. So I still think Knox is the favorite for targets, but of course Hawes could catch a couple short touchdowns tonight. But we're talking, if you're you have to make a last minute switch here or DFS. But I don't think moving forward they're going to be players. And it doesn't sound like Kincaid's going to miss significant time here. Kincaid's role hasn't dramatically increased this year, but he just gets targeted like crazy when he does run routes. So he's a weekly top 10 option. But it's a bummer, Monday night. It didn't look like he was going to miss this game. Happened to me in QJ and a couple teams. This caught me off guard. Johnston, I thought 3 straight limited practices. I took it for granted. And then you wake up Sunday morning and, inactive.
We had a few of those this weekend. I think it was the Green Bay kicker, McManus, was declaring throughout the week that he was going to play, and then didn't play. That caused a little bit of a scramble.
And then in my shared Circa Survivor, I talked Tommy out of Pittsburgh, and he talked me out of the Raiders, and we went the safe route with the Packers, and that game was life or death to the very end. And
unnecessarily.
The reason I bring that up, not to talk about Survivor, but the kicker situation, Jordan Love could have ended the game with a first down, and he actively slid 2 yards short, and they're only up 6 points. I'm like, you're relying on your backup kicker to seal the game. That's an interesting decision, but it's crazy when you watch these games. This hyper watch every single play with Survivor on the line. It's kind of fun, but believe me, it'll be relief when it's all over, which will be soon enough. This week it looks like a tricky one.
Here's a Titans fan who's actually in my fishbowl draft. I did leave Lamar to him.
He'll be back after the bye.
Yeah, Lamar's gonna be great. Lamar seemed like one of the right answers until it wasn't, but he seemed like it. Yeah, huge Titans fan here, and I want to say that he does point out correctly that they do play the Saints, which is a winnable game in which I would certainly not favor the Titans, and Dalton probably taking New Orleans in Survivor that week, I would guess.
No. The Titans game should have been closer against the Raiders. Actually, Geno Smith was very close to losing a fumble for a touchdown, and they ruled it a forward pass. They're fine. I mean, they're not the worst defensively. I mean, they're a feisty team.
Yeah.
It's just, and maybe the coaching change. The dead count bounce. Watch them win this week. Actually, I'll probably go against them, and they'll upset the Pats.
That is the thing. They've been like curiously not because of the offense, but they have been curiously close in a handful of games. And there have been some games where, like, if the kicker just keeps them in it, they can be tied. I think it was Houston. They could have been tied at half with that team. I don't know.
Yep.
They're not as bad as it feels right now, but it does feel really bad. Let's grab one here. Okay, first, just straight up question. OTG, is it crazy to bench Breece Hall for Scatabo from here on out in a standard TV heavy league? I get it. The Jets are pissing a lot of us off. And yeah, no TD from Hall. How you feeling about? Okay, give us your Scatabo versus Breece Hall take.
Yeah, rest of season Scatabo this week too. I even have him as my RB12 in a tougher matchup. Seemingly Hall, my RB14 against Carolina, who's improved immeasurably though against the run this season. Man, Cam is just obviously so fun to watch. Last week, such a tough matchup against the Eagles, puts up a hat trick touchdown. So especially in a TD heavy league, yes. But you look at the usage and like the expected fantasy points, he's been top 5, and then Tracy returns and is just an afterthought.
Yeah.
He's getting the targets. There's no Neighbors. There's no Slayton. All the goal line work. He doesn't have to be, explosive to be effective here because his role is just so high. And this next week, a matchup against Denver, they shut down opposing quarterbacks running. Entered allowing only 3 yards per game to opposing quarterbacks running, and they had faced like Allen, Herbert, and another run, maybe Hurts, and then they held Justin Fields to 31 yards, and that's all he could do. So maybe Scatabo is going to have to really be a bigger part of the game plan here with Dart, inability to run this week. But anyway, he's been one of the best late round picks this year, and a RB1 borderline moving forward.
And you've got the intangible aspect of this as well, which is which player do you want to watch? Like, I don't know. Do you want to be hanging on the Jets game all day, or do you want to watch this Giants team, which is an absolute freaking party? Man, they've been super fun. Scatabo is about as wild as it gets. On the Harris podcast last week, I was mentioning that like handing the ball to him is it's like flipping on a particle accelerator, right? And we're just smashing the little blue thing into all these little green things, and we're just blowing it up and finding new bosons and new fundamental particles of the universe. It's friggin' awesome. I really enjoy watching him run. It is not a maybe sustainable style over the over the long term, but he can catch it a little bit. He can do all the things, and I think you made the key point. Tyrone Tracy came back, and he was a cameo player. He barely played, not really, part of the rotation, but not a significant part of the rotation. And that was the one remaining worry. What was it going to look like when all of the backs were available, and it was entirely Scatterbo, and that was pretty great.
And as he points out, if Garrett Wilson misses a couple of weeks, that Jets offense is, from bad
dreadful.
to even worse, a nightmare.
Yeah. Sad story here. Need Kincaid to play and lose 3 fumbles. Probably. Yeah. That's probably not happening for you.
I do love when some of those percentages, chances of winning, they still give you like a 4% chance of and you need your opponent to, catch the ball and then drop and lose multiple fumbles.
I don't like to throw platforms under the bus, except for maybe our old employer, but I actually think our old employer does the, I feel like the winning whatever, the stupid slider in your matchup page that tells you if you're going to win or lose. I kind of feel like it's a little better at Yahoo than it is at some other places. I've overcome several situations this year where Sleeper thought I was a significant underdog, and I think it's just randomly generated at my fantasy league.
That one is a great, yes.
Oh, they're crazy, and it swings wildly during a matchup too. I don't love that one.
That was what I was thinking too. Is my fantasy? Yes, that one.
Yeah. I mean, I just flat out shouldn't be paying attention to it. I suppose I know that. Which side of this trade would you like to be on? Lamar Jackson and Tony Pollard for Josh Allen and Zay Flowers. I'm going to tell you, I pretty strongly want to be on the Allen Flowers side. Go ahead. What's your take there?
Totally same here. You get Allen now, and then when Lamar comes back, you'll benefit. Zay Flowers will benefit there. So, and I don't think Pollard is. I mean, Spears is now going to split work there in an offense just projected to score 16 points a week. So, give me the healthy Allen and Zay.
Yeah, some of this is I just don't see a great distinction between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, and I don't totally understand why they're involved in this trade, right? Like this, I mean, rest of one of them has a bye, he's currently hurt. I get it. He's scoring a little bit better, but Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, for me, coming into the season, and if I redrafted the league right now, they'd be a tier of their own, basically a quarterback, and I don't feel terribly differently about that. So this is a Tony Pollard for Zay Flowers trade, and I think I won Zay Flowers. Need a QB. Drafted Purdy. Been rolling with Fields. Yeah. Wow. I hear you, dude. Been rolling with Fields the past few weeks. Offered Dak and Chuba. Wow. Okay. Now we're on to a fun discussion because we get to talk Chuba versus Dowdle too. Offered Dak and Chuba for JCM. Other running backs are CMC, Achane, couple of flyers who are barely startable. I guess Michael Carter is startable. Also Vidal out there on waivers. Man. I'll just say I probably, you either added JCM from waivers or you drafted him very late. You took him as surplus. Part of me also says there's a really good chance that he goes nuclear tonight, and the trade value is even higher than this. But this is good because I think Chuba's going to have a role when he returns. I think Dowdle has more than carved out a slice for himself, but I think Chuba's going to have a role. They paid him. They like him. He was awesome last year. Dak is maybe a difference maker for you. And you've got, I get it with the matchup for Fields this week. It's fine, but he's been dreadful, and he's scoring all of his points, really all of his points in garbage time, right? Like everything's coming in the fourth quarter, and garbage time is a little unfair because they're professionals and everybody gets paid to play until the whistle. And some of these games have been very winnable at the end. But it's been mostly fourth quarter production. Nobody's happy with Justin Fields to this point. So I don't hate this. How do you feel about it, Dalton?
It's a fair swap for both. If the Dak offer has another quarterback, it's great getting JCM now, but I would not fault you for doing this deal. Fields might be without Garrett Wilson the next couple of weeks as well. Dak is locked in top 5 fantasy QB, and he's been doing it, I believe, the last 3 weeks he's been the number 1 or 2 fantasy QB, and he's doing it without CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that's what's crazy here. And I think it's going to be more of the same for them moving forward. And Hubbard, the league I talked about that I'm doing the best in the NFFC, I have Hubbard, and I'm an absolute donkey and didn't back him up with Dowdle. If I had Dowdle, I might be top 10 in that. And but I don't expect him to be anything even close to more than a 1B, right? I mean, Dowdle has just been a monster, and he's passed the eye test. I mean, he's just simply got to take control of that. I don't expect much from Hubbard moving forward at all.
These are always difficult situations, I think, because 2 weeks ago, very clear, wrote about this in The Athletic, wrote about it in a couple places, like Dowdle was set up to absolutely smash. It was clear the matchups were great. Like, we pounded the table because like nobody screws this up. It's Miami, and then it's the revenge game against Dallas. And then he exceeded expectations in the great matchups, right? Like, it wasn't just like Rico Dowdle at 120 yards and a touchdown in these games would not have surprised me. Okay, 200 scrimmage yards, you really have my attention in a great matchup. So I agree. I just don't want to throw out like what Chuba Hubbard was last year, what they paid him to be, and how good I legitimately think he is. Like, that's a pretty awesome 1-2 punch, and you don't have to make it all one guy. So I bet that situation is going to be more Hubbard than people want. And we'll see what it looks like when Dowdle when the matchups become a little bit rougher. And it's not like this week is it's the Jets, right? Not like this week is terrible. But man, like Miami and Dallas is about, short of the Bears. That's about as good as it gets. So I think they're both going to be involved. For me, that's not quite a situation like with Scadaboo. I was pretty sure that Scadaboo had earned that job and was going to take it over, but I wasn't 100% positive. I guess I'm less certain with Dowdle, but you seem a little more committed.
Yeah, 2 or 3 200-yard games this season. He has 2 of them. He's just looked like such a monster. But you could be right, and we could be recency bias, and it was unquestionably favorable matchups. And Hubbard's been their guy, so maybe it's more of an even split. And I'm thinking just pessimistically because I have him in such an important team. But it is hard to deny how awesome Dowdle looked while ripping off those runs after contact and whatnot. But I think he's going to lead the way. But you're probably more reserved in your answer. Probably right. Maybe it's a full-blown 50-50 split in an offense that sometimes Bryce Young looks shaky. He seems to play so much better at home is what I've come to the conclusion. It still could be an offense that has question marks, and if it's a full-blown committee, that's not helpful to anyone.
I might also be seeing it through the prism of my own fantasy teams, because this is my situation in Fishbowl. And a couple of other leagues, I have both Hubbard and Dowdle. I thought Dowdle was good enough to bank on as the primary backup to Hubbard. But now it becomes a really difficult situation, right? I'm kind of pre-dreading the difficulty of the situation when Hubbard is actually healthy and returns, and I have to worry about a 50-50 split, a 60-40 split. Like in Fishbowl, I think I'm just going to start them both. Anyway, it's a good run game. I just don't think Dowdle's a perfect runner. Like, I think he misses some things, and he has no breakaway speed. And just last year and this year, there are still moments, even as great as he has been over the last couple of weeks in these matchups, there's still moments where you're like, man, how's that? And it doesn't always happen, but inevitably happens later in the drive. I mean, he's been great. I'm not trying to be overly critical of him. I just don't want to portray it as if this was like secret Saquon Barkley all along, and he's finally been discovered.
It's a fair point. It's not like he came out of nowhere. Something we have a large sample of Dowdle being very average running back at best. So yeah, that's a fair counter.
I love this point about Cam Ward. Running backwards does not work unless you're Josh Allen or Lamar. This is fun. Cam does this. Cam will retreat backwards endlessly, trying to buy time, and it's not the direction you should be moving if you're trying to buy time in the pocket, right? You shouldn't just be drifting backwards like 6 or 7 yards and taking an even deeper sack, which has happened a few times, and nudge them out of field goal range. It's brutal to watch. This also made me think of, like some guys. who said this? I feel like I remember Stacey King saying once about Derrick Rose that some guys just have different fundamentals, right? And like it's like that for Lamar Jackson. It's like that for among receivers. It's like that for Tyreek Hill. Like Tyreek Hill is the only guy I've almost ever seen who can make the thing work where like he catches the ball and his first step is immediately back toward the quarterback. And every week I feel like I see six receivers try that same thing and it fails spectacularly and they lose a first down or they just lose 4 yards. Like stop doing this. It's an epidemic and literally Tyreek Hill is the only person who can get away with it. Need a lesson in trading running backs for wide receiver help. I've had Puka, Jaden Reed, Godwin, Slayton, Coker. Problems. Running backs are Taylor, Brees, Etienne, Vidal, Bam Knight. Yeah, well, you've got some trade chips because I think Etienne looks really good. There's a market for Kamani Vidal right now, and I might take advantage of it. Just as I look at this, you are going to have some short term holes to fill here. We learned Godwin not gonna go this week. They've already made that announcement, which portends not great things. They also changed his injury designation from an ankle to a fibula, which you almost never see. So that's worrisome. You might get Slayton back. You're going to get Reed back eventually, but not anytime soon. You might get Coker back, but these are not difference-making players other than Puka Nacua. So yeah, I don't know. Usually, my advice is that you keep it general with your league, and you just say, "Hey, I'm open to trading a running back." But if you do that, you're going to get 5 offers for Jonathan Taylor and not a peep about anybody else. So I wouldn't do that in your situation. I would put Kamani Vidal specifically on the block. How do you feel about that, Dalton?
Yeah, throw a message board out there saying whom you have available and what position you're specifically looking for. That's usually the best way to facilitate trades. And I'm with you. Every single person's going to come going for Taylor. And maybe if you, we don't know the rest of your roster, but you might want to shop Taylor if you can get 2 star receivers back. It might be needed in your situation. But yeah, absolutely ask for the moon for Taylor, obviously. Godwin's frustrating me because I said to avoid him, and I avoided him in all leagues. I had him buried in my ranks. Then he comes back and he gets 11 targets immediately. Evans is out. Buka looks like he's a little banged up in some smoke and mirrors and some plays the week before. So I recommend Godwin. Then it turns out, yes, that serious injury was a reason to avoid him all along because he had so many multiple surgeries. And yeah, he didn't look ready to return to play football. And Buka, man, that's a bummer of an injury because he was looking like, top 3 fantasy wideout with all those targets. Now, if Evans can return this week against the Lions, and what's that over-under's out of control, suddenly he could be immediately top 5 if Buka, Godwin, and all these guys are out.
And like pretty good news on Evans overall, right? He's expected to return to practice, so he could actually get back, which is exciting because otherwise we're talking about Cam Johnson, just a bunch of random Johnsons, Tez Johnson, Cam Johnson, Sterling Shepard. Maybe we get a little bit more build the offense around Kate Otten like we saw last year. All of this, by the way, is making the MVP case for Baker Mayfield. Getting this weekend's win against your Niners. Whatever, your Niners are more banged up even than the Bucs, so I should check myself a little bit. But that win under those circumstances, Egbuka going out. Crazy stuff. Insane season by Baker. I'm scrolling through X right now. Got Schefter tweeting that an MRI revealed that Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson hyperextended his knee and is now expected to miss, as one source said, a couple of weeks. That's really rough. Jets got to be sellers, right? The Jets got to be sellers for sure. I don't even want to add a Jets receiver to the pickups column, frankly. Mason Taylor's a pretty good player. Mason Taylor probably gets a little uptick. Maybe this means more for Breece Hall. The Jets aren't going to become buyers. The Jets aren't going to go out and address the screaming need that already existed. So that is really brutal for Justin. Does that make Justin Fields toxic for you if he wasn't toxic already?
Yeah, this matchup at home against the Panthers this week, given the other quarterback situations, he'll be borderline startable, but that is obviously terrible news. Is only alpha there. Maybe it'll lead to even more running from Fields, but I'm with you. No Jets receiver to recommend. Mason Taylor, definitely a bump in targets, even though he's coming off the disappointing game in a tougher matchup. Bummer. Wilson was, among the league leaders in target share, and now it's going to be sidelined. So yeah, that's a downgrade for Fields.
I like this question just because this is the kind of thing that you should think about doing on game nights. Opponent has Kincaid. Would you guys drop Tua and grab Knox to block? Yes, I would 100% do this. Um, Also, it's going to feel pretty good to drop Tua. Like you don't need to keep in most leagues. You don't need to keep a backup quarterback, especially when you're starting Daniel Jones. There's just not going to be very many weeks when you don't start Daniel Jones over Tua. I'm sure there is a Tua equivalent out there, and 100% I would block somebody.
I'm for this, but I'll just tell you how someone who's played a lot of fantasy, the fantasy karma gods, what'll happen is then your opponent will pick up Haas because of it, and then he'll be the one catching the 2 touchdowns. But yes, in general principle, absolutely do this.
Yes. Haas catching 2 touchdowns tonight on 2 receptions for like 7 yards is 100% in play. It is absolutely in play. I feel like I should bet it, actually. I feel like I should pause the live stream and just go bet that right now because that is probably happening. Here's a good question. What is a realistic trade I can get for A.J. Brown? Might just try and get Judkins for him. Well, I mean, I love Judkins, and he might be my favorite he might be my favorite rookie runner. I'd have to give that some thought. It wasn't a great game this past weekend, but the Browns were weird. My God, I had just watched that game not that long ago, and almost everything. I'll just complain about the Browns for like a minute. Almost everything either behind the line of scrimmage or within 2 or 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. So that was no fun. Everything downfield was an adventure. Bunch of drops. And then things that I don't even know what to call them. Are they drops? When we hit Isaiah Bond in the face and it just bounds away, what is that? I guess that's a drop. Weird team. Maybe this is what we should expect with a fresh quarterback, but I don't think I've ever seen as many receivers completely not expect the ball. And the ball looked like it was on time. I don't know. Weird team. Bad tape. So rough sledding for Judkins. It might be like that for a while. I don't know why a defense would ever not have like 10 people within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage against against the Cleveland Browns right now. So like they're just a rough watch. So that was a long way of complaining about the Browns and not really answering your question. What is the right trade package for A.J. Brown? He was a second rounder. To my eye, he doesn't look bad. I don't think A.J. Brown is washed. I understand concern about the offense. He's not coming off a terrible game. I'd rather sell him off a great game. Would somebody give Javonte Williams for A.J. Brown? I mean, that's a
No.
decent price. You'd be cashing out at a
No way.
pretty huge profit.
No one would do
Problem
that.
is, he's like the RB4 or 5, right? He's in a great situation. I don't think you'd get that. And I don't want to go much lower either. I don't know. What's a reasonable price here? I feel like you should be at maybe what you're looking for here is a running back. So that's where I should focus. But I feel like you could get any tight end for A.J. Brown. Like you should be able to get like Tyler Warren or Trey McBride for A.J. Brown. I feel like you should be able to get almost any quarterback for A.J. Brown. I'd shoot a little higher than Judkins, and I say that as somebody who really likes him.
I'm good with this trade. I don't think you can get much better. I have Judkins as my RB5 this week at home against Miami. This is the perfect time to trade for him.
Miami,
He didn't have a chance last week in that game against Pittsburgh. Cool news I learned from Greg Rosenthal. Dylan Gabriel named after Corey Dillon. But he targets his tight ends just like crazy. So your guy Fannin could just be to the moon with. If Njoku
his tight ends
out.
both had drops this past week, but his tight ends are his best receivers.
Yeah, and Njoku might miss time. I'm saying so. Like Fannin really could be looking nice here. But I think Judkins, yes, game script's going to be a problem. But they have a very strong defense, and if you look at the rest of the running back landscape, there's so many guys who may or may not keep their job, and they all have question marks. I think Javonte Williams is aiming way too high for A.J. Brown. Yes, do that in a second if you can. Yeah. If not, I'd be fine with Judkins. Yes, some games are going to be like last week, but others are going to be like this week where he could be a top 3 back. I mean, I think he's a real special talent.
This is we're not necessarily helping people here, but I love this question. And I've never heard you answer it. How do you describe your job when someone asks you what you do? Do you say fantasy expert? Do you say writer? Do you say sports writer?
Predictive analytics. No, I say sports writer. And then if they do follow up, I'll say fantasy and then get into fantasy football. I'm happy to discuss it, but I open with if someone, especially probably, not going to be familiar with the niche, I would say just sports writer. I say sports writer.
Yeah, this depends entirely on the
on the
audience.
audience. Yeah, yeah.
If it is somebody, if somebody is politely asking me what I do and I'm only like 50-50 on whether they know what fantasy football is, I will 100% say that I am a sports writer. If it's a 20 something asking me what I do, I will throw in podcaster, I'll throw in, analyst, something like that. But I don't even get into the differences between like traditional sports writing and fantasy unless I'm 100% sure that you are currently in a fantasy league. Otherwise, I prefer to keep it polite and higher level.
And I cringe at the expert moniker. I do not refer. I know Andy does. He actually requires you to refer to
I
him
do.
as such. But
I do.
I personally find it a little
I find it
putting.
offensive when somebody merely calls me an analyst and not
Right,
an
right,
expert.
not expert. Yeah.
Yeah. I need all your Chicago Bears fandomness because due to injuries, I'm rolling the Caleb DJ stack tonight. I, I don't hate it. And I get that there is a national narrative that whoever, Luther Burden, somebody is going to leapfrog
Rookie
DJ.
bump. Yeah, rookie
DJ
bye week
Moore looks
bump.
fine. And there have been games where they were clearly committed to getting DJ Moore a bunch of work and, for various reasons didn't happen. Oftentimes because stuff's getting called back. Like, early season Bears was a continuation of last year's story with regard to pre-snap penalties. I mean, like they wiped out a bunch of stuff that was going to go to DJ Moore. Other penalties have wiped out other things that went to DJ Moore. It's just been kind of a snake bit year. He's really good. He's not like DJ Moore hasn't aged out of being a good player. I think he's going to have weeks. I think Roma Dunze is great, and I think we're still learning whether the Bears' offense is the kind of thing that is going to be able to fully support multiple every week starters at receiver. But I don't like. I think DJ Moore is a pretty good player, and I don't hate this. I am, I'm interested in a million things about this Bears game tonight. Among those things, what does it look like for Colston Loveland and Luther Burden? Because, on the one hand, you want to say, man, you got to get more out of these picks. These were very early draft picks. They are clearly talented players. I know you haven't seen a lot of Loveland. He was a huge story in camp. He was doing great. He was a wonderful player at Michigan. Like, he's good. You took him 10th overall. We got to get him healthy and we got to get him involved. I think, on the other hand, Ben Johnson sees him in practice every day, and it's stupid for me to like second guess what they're seeing constantly. So, but I am really interested to see if we do get more Luther Burden and Colston Loveland.
The post-bye rookie bump, we saw it with your guy Caleb Johnson. In fact, I didn't see that coming, but he was much more involved.
Kind of frisky
after their bye. I did this trade because it was a positional need, but just because we're on the topic, DJ Moore or DeAndre Swift, who has a better PPR season rest of the year?
Oh, that's a really good question. They're so close, and I'm old enough that I always give the slight edge to the running back.
Yeah.
I also don't think that, I don't know. I know there's a lot of chatter about a lot is maybe strong, but there's chatter about Kyle Monangai. I don't see it. I haven't seen it. I just don't totally see it. I don't think that he has it in him. I could be wrong. But what I've seen so far, I don't think that guy's going to be better than DeAndre Swift. I think it would flat out take an injury for that guy to take meaningful snaps from DeAndre Swift. So I'd probably lean Swift. It's close. I don't dislike DJ Moore. And in fact, I just, out of necessity in a league in which I lost Malik Neighbors, I made a very low level trade for DJ Moore. So I still believe in him, but I would probably go Swift there. Is that the way you went?
I went more, but it was purely I needed a receiver. I had lost CeeDee Lamb, and it's a keeper league. It's similar salary.
I think it's a fine price.
Yeah, it was purely positional need. A defense question. Let's go.
Yeah, this almost never happens. I have a problem. I have too many defenses. Houston, Minnesota. That's crazy. I can understand having two defenses on your roster as it gets late in the season. You start looking at matchups and you're like, I'm going to play this one in these weeks. I'm going to play this other one in these weeks. I totally get it. 3 defenses on your roster is crazy. Minnesota, Houston, bye. I've been reluctant to drop one and allow some. I get it. But it's crazy that you're about to be 6-0 and you've got 3 defenses on your roster. I'll just say Houston doesn't really have. They might have the Chiefs remaining. Maybe they might have Buffalo remaining too. But there are not a lot of stay away matchups for the Houston Texans defense on the schedule rest of season, and it's a really good defense. Like it is a top five in the NFL defense. I think they're holding teams to like 12 points a game, 265 total yards a game. It's really good. So I'd I'd start them almost rest of the way, and then there's going to be like one little, Minnesota's got a bunch of difficult matchups. It's a really, there's some pesky offenses in the division. They're a team that had a great record last year. I'd be starting Houston, if not every week the rest of the way, almost every week the rest of the way, and there might be a couple of streaming opportunities in there, but I would get rid of the Chargers and the Vikings. I don't know if you feel differently, Dalton.
My only thing to add to this is yes, you can drop defenses, but my home league, we've always, for whatever reason, done yardage against. So it's made the scoring higher and it's made defenses more important. And they're not just an afterthought at the end of drafts. Not that they're easy to predict yearly, but and our benches are short, so you can't hoard them, but matchups mean a lot. Anyway, I think it's an interesting wrinkle to make defenses actually really matter if you add just the yardage against as well. But hoarding three in a scoring system that I assume is not mine seems a little overboard.
Hey, thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Thank you for following. Eric asking, trade or hold Jamison Williams? I don't know. Do we think last night was a blip, or do we think last night is? I kind of feel like that's perfectly in line with what you should expect from Jamison Williams. And I get it was a slow start, but I don't think you need to say, aha, I finally got a touchdown out of Williams. I can take him to the trade market. That's a damn good team. That team can put 40 on you in any given week. I mean, that wasn't their best night, but that was a pretty decent opponent they faced. I don't know. I feel fine about Williams' rest of season, and I don't think you're going to get like the draft night price right now for Jamison Williams either. Do you feel differently?
That's fair, the last point you made, but I was leaning yes. Now the time is in a primetime standalone game, him catching the touchdown, that he is not broken out as hoped. I mean, people were very excited, ranking him almost top 20 with all the coach chatter, the new OC, the target share. I believe 4 of his last 5 games before the last one was like under 16% or something. Yes, the boom weeks will be there when he catches the long ones, but I think he's going to underperform expectations, and coming off a nice game, I would try to shop him down. But Andy's probably right. His value is definitely decreased.
Here's another one that has no practical fantasy value, but this is maybe the greatest question I've ever fielded. Which 5 NFL players would you choose to ride with when the zombie apocalypse comes?
Scattaboo right now, right? I mean,
yes, right at the top, number 1 pick. You said it, I'm saying it. Tier of his own, Cam Scatterbo. First of all, we cannot allow Cam Scatterbo to become a zombie, because that frickin' apocalypse is over as soon as Cam Scatterbo is on their side, right? It's over. It's done. Nobody is a more high motor brain eater than Cam Scatterbo. So absolutely cannot let that happen. We have to protect him, and I think he can protect us. I think he's probably the one person in the league right now, I think, who could really match the energy of a brain hungry zombie too. Who else? We going Derrick Henry, or is he too old for you? Do we not want anybody over 30?
Oh, you think he's too? No, I was actually going to go even older, Steve Smith. I want that guy in my corner for.
Oh hell yeah!
I mean,
okay, that's a great call.
That's yeah. I don't care about age, whatever. He's still going to knock some zombies out. I guarantee it.
That's a great call. Well, if we can take retired players, I don't Ryan Fitzpatrick would survive a zombie apocalypse. Ryan Fitzpatrick strikes me as like one of the last 10 people alive on Earth in the zombie apocalypse. So I wanna kind of be in his tribe. I don't know why I feel that way. Some combination of the luck that has befallen him in life. He's a bright guy, clearly. He's crazy in the right ways. I bet Ryan Fitzpatrick survives it. Who else?
Baker Mayfield. No, he's not crazy enough. He's pretty.
Baker Mayfield's a really good call.
I think he's surviving.
If there's a situation where we just have to send somebody, out of the whatever our fortification is, we got to send somebody out on a wild ass run to retrieve, I don't know, some weapon, something we need. I feel like Baker volunteers for duty there and maybe comes the closest to get it done. I was going to say George Kittle, but I also think George Kittle can't just shut the F up when we need him to be quiet and
Yeah.
not like notify the zombies of our presence. So I probably can't go with Kittle. Unfortunately, I think George Kittle dies quickly in a zombie apocalypse. I think he probably just can't stay quiet. Who else? I
George
don't know.
Brittle. George Brittle. Sorry.
Yeah. Also, we have to deal with the probability that George Kittle gets hurt for a little while and can't help us.
Those were good calls. But can I just say the best two-play sequence of any drive this season was Baker Mayfield escaping a 3rd and 14 that he sure sacked and ran for 15 yards, and then shortly thereafter a laser to Tez Johnson. Great catch too, but man, that was a ridiculous sequence, and an MVP candidacy grows.
The shot play to Tez was crazy. I will say it's a runner-up to what you've called out there. Another like low-key great two-play sequence was Justin Herbert final scoring drive in a game that should not have had a final scoring drive for the Chargers. Like that should have been one. But that final drive, he had 2 plays in a row where I am just not sure how he avoided a sack.
I might have missed it. I saw the Ladd one. I might have missed the other one though.
Yeah. Well, the Ladd play was crazy, right? Because it's like in one hand, then in the other hand, then back in this hand, and he completes the throw. And Haskins was great on that play, blocking downfield. Like it was great, but it was a great Herbert play. The play before was just a throwaway. Okay. But an absolute freaking miracle that he threw it away. Like he was swallowed up by 4 guys, and I don't know how he got the ball legitimately at the feet of an eligible receiver. It was great. It was the greatest throwaway that I think I have seen this year. It was awesome. It was a great sequence. Great question. I don't think did we come up with a 5th? Who's the 5th? I don't know. Give me a kicker. Could a kicker help?
Yeah, you got to go.
Could a punter
kicker.
help? You know what? I just want to I want to keep Torrey Taylor alive, so I'll keep Torrey Taylor with me as well. I don't know if he can help. I don't know if he can help at all.
Speaking of kickers, you know the Niners finally got one, Eddie De Niro, as I like to call him, and then a teammate steps on his foot and injured him in the middle of the game after we lost Warner. It's. I mean, McCaffrey is the biggest ticking time bomb in the history of athletes. I mean, this is insane to be a Niner fan, Andy. Insane. But Warner's the best defensive player in football, arguably. I mean, it's
But before we deal with this question, which is a key question, McCaffrey's on pace for almost 440 touches. Dalton, what are we doing?
I know.
Can this really happen? That can't happen, right?
No, it cannot. And did I just miss the low-hanging fruit here? Is Jake Moody your kicker tonight? Am I making that up?
I saw that he was active. I got.
Wait, he wouldn't be over Santos, though, right? Why are they active? I'm confused. The kickoff? You can't kick off either.
Santos cannot. I mean, Santos from 50 is just a pure roll of the dice. I mean, he just I'm fine with the idea of replacing Cairo Santos because he's literally the NFL's lone kicker and he's the only kicker that I ever remember oh yeah, he's been in the gym in the summer. You'll see. He's added a little extra he's the only best shape of his life kicker I've ever followed. He's just not reliable from 50. Meanwhile, the rest of the league, I mean, we got guys hitting 70-yarders in the preseason. We got Evan McPherson hitting a 60s. 60 is kind of the new 45, 50, right? Everybody in the league can hit from 60, and Cairo Santos can't reliably hit from 50. So I know that there are better options out there than Jake Moody. I know it in my bones. But I will take somebody over Cairo Santos. I'm not bothered by it. This question: did you guys see enough from Cincy Flacco to have any confidence in Higgins or Chase Brown? Higgins or Chase? Okay, I thought you were going to go Jamar Chase. Obviously, you have confidence in Jamar Chase. I do as well. How are we feeling about T. Higgins and Chase Brown?
Like I said, I watched that game closely. Flacco, all underneath stuff, taking no risks. I wanted to see the gunslinger out there turning the ball over, but he knew his assignment, and that was throwing 40% of his passes to Higgins and Chase. And I came away a little bit of an upgrade for Higgins and Jamar Chase as well. But Chase Brown, the opposite. I mean, P. Ryan took a ton of work. He's now splitting work on a bad offense. So Chase Brown is, best on benches. I mean, it's that bad. But Higgins can be a wide receiver 3, I believe now. And Chase, I mean, depending on matchup, could be, a weekly top 5 guy. So it was an upgrade over Browning. Still not ideal, and it would have been better with Winston. But Flacco played pretty well. That was upset alert. I mean, they almost went to beat a Packer team on the road after just learning the playbook a couple days earlier. Packer team coming off a bye. and a loss and a tie. Like that team should have been as ready as they'll be. And frankly, I was underwhelmed by the Packers.
Yeah, 4 days. Joe Flacco had
Yeah.
4 days. So like whatever you just saw is not necessarily the version of that offense we're going to get in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. It probably gets better. I still have reservations about Joe Flacco as one of the league's most immobile quarterbacks behind a pretty sketchy offensive line. Maybe not the league's worst, but not great. It's the one that got Burrow hurt. But man, like you're really underselling maybe how bad Jake Browning was, and I didn't see that coming. I don't mean you personally, Dalton. I mean the questioner here is probably Shekels is really underselling how bad Jake Browning was, because that's as bad as I've seen it. Jake Browning 2 weeks ago is just as bad as I've seen a quarterback play, and I think we talked about it a week ago. Like it was cracking me up that Moose Johnston just ran out of ways to describe, like, because it's not just like the 3 interceptions that he threw, which each of them in their own way terrible. It's that every ball out of his hand was a potential interception. It was almost always the wrong player being targeted. He threw into double coverage constantly, and like real wrote a letter, stuffed it in a bottle, and threw it in the ocean kind of throws. Like just hopeless throws where like the best case scenario is it's an incomplete pass. Like Browning was terrible 2 weeks ago. So Joe Flacco as like a boring option who focuses his targets on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is perfect. It's not the best. It's not the dream. It's not Jameis Winston, which would have been a real party. But they could not move forward with Jake Browning at the level that Jake Browning was playing. It would have destroyed I'm just guessing. I don't know anything about what's going on in Cincinnati's locker room. But there would have had a mutiny if they would have gone forward with Jake Browning. If I'm on that team, which your team is terrible if I'm on your team, but if I'm on that team, like, I don't know. I'm asking the coaches what we're doing at quarterback, because it could not have been Jake Browning for one more second. He was terrible. I would like to be thanked publicly for telling Dalton to start the Born Identity over 3rd and Juwan. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Do you wish to acknowledge that?
Yes, this is my wife, and she plays fantasy sports, but she really follows the Niners. So I did ask her this question, and it was an important on my DFS lineups and whatnot. And she did say Bourne, and she was right by a lot. I mean, Bourne 142 yards second straight week. Jennings after the game reveals he's playing with 5 broken ribs and a low and high ankle sprain, and he was like screaming at Shanahan's face in the sideline. So yeah, that wasn't just could go on either way. That was the right answer, Carly. So thank you. Appreciate that. And Jennings is in trouble.
Sounds to me like Jennings' mid ankle is fine.
Yeah, he's good to go. He's really
got
fighting for playing time. Too. Like his contract's really incentivized to playing time, though. So he's like to. That's why he's yelling at Shanahan, presumably, because he wants to be out there. But it's not doing Niners or fantasy managers any good. He's just his carcass out there. But Bourne looks great, and who leads the NFL in yards per passing yards per game?
Oh, is this going to be somebody really weird? Who is it?
Mac Jones.
Well, it's Mac Jones. Of course,
Mac Jones led.
Everything is 300 yards. Yeah,
he led the NFL entering last week in passing yards per game, then threw 342. So he's easily leading it now, but they didn't lead any touchdowns last week.
He can barely get himself off the field too. Like he's limping around out
compromised with an oblique injury and a sprained PCL. But
Bourne looks good. Bourne looks as good as Kendrick Bourne has ever looked, and that's a guy where like I don't know if you could have maybe convinced me that he'd retired just a couple weeks ago. He looks freaking awesome.
100-yard game in his career before, and now the last 2 weeks, 142 exactly. Shanahan's number one receiver. That's helpful. But also Mac Jones and him, they have chemistry from New England days. So like they were practicing together before. So he'll be a real thing as long as Pearsall and those guys are out, especially with Jennings so down and Ayuk's return in question. But that said, Kittle expected return in week 7.
Is that really going to happen? Because I need it.
Yeah, I hope so. That's been the target date, but it's the Niners, so all bets are off.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, it's what a joke.
Jake Moody, biggest post-hype sleeper kicker, Who is the biggest kicker sleeper in fantasy today, Dalton? You're a big kicker guy.
Yeah, my loop in was my preseason sleeper, and he kind of got killed by the Baltimore situation
I,
there. But
I so I was actually going to
it's
say that because we got Baltimore going into a bye. Everybody, if they didn't already drop Tyler Loop, which no fault of Tyler Loop's, right? It's the Baltimore offense. It's been a wasteland for a couple weeks. They're going to go into a bye, and if you haven't dropped him already, he's going to get dropped. But then Lamar comes back, and we're going to have a fully operational Baltimore offense in a couple weeks. And I think Tyler Loop can be fine. I think he can be exactly what you thought he would be.
There is a clear answer here, though, although maybe last week ruined it, but it is Eddie De Niro, as I
Yeah.
like to call him. I mean, he was like in the ranks 20th something. I'm like, I understand who it's, but the Niners kicker. That's why I
Yeah.
drafted Moody. And so I have a NFFC gives you the team kicker, which is nice. But they're projected to score, top 5 weekly points every week, and they can't score in the red zones. And now they got a kicker who's actually good and making long ones. So Eddie Pinheiro, he should be a top 5 fantasy weekly kicker and probably available every single fantasy league.
Yeah. Is he going to be fine? Because
Oh, well, that right. He did kick a field goal afterward, and I haven't heard anything.
yeah.
But you're right. Maybe he screwed up his plant leg when some big body guy stepped on him with a cleat. So yeah, that is something to pay attention to. You're right.
That
That's
is
a fair
that is
point.
the most Niners injury that could have possibly happened.
Well, and then what about my guy Anthony Richardson suffering an orbital fracture in pregame warmups when also Mooney Ward suffered a concussion before the game? Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't get any more Anthony Richardson than breaking his eye by himself practicing before a
Yeah.
game. Man, my poor AR.
I should have asked you this earlier when we were talking about the Giants. Jackson Dart, rest of season rank. Where do you have him?
Yeah, good one. I'm gonna do that right when we stop recording. Yeah, I would guess I would say 15-ish just because of this running, man. To be able to do that with the Eagles, against the
Yeah.
Eagles and without Neighbors, I think that proved a big point there. So it'll come down to matchups, but I might even have him I would say in between 12 and 15. I mean, he's running so much. I mean, he's more 50 yards
Yeah.
every single game. He's the first guy to do that, first quarterback, I think, to do that. So maybe I'm even underselling him. He's going to be a top 10 guy because the running is all that pays in fantasy, but anywhere between 10 to 15 rest of season.
The 50 yards in each of his first 3 games, it's him, Lamar, and Jalen Hurts.
Wow. So three,
It's a crazy club for Jackson Dart to be a part of. Here's another question without any practical immediate fantasy application that I love so much. Because I have a couple of answers to this. What is the strangest fantasy rule or scoring setting you remember from the early days of fantasy, back when we called the whole thing rotisserie for some reason? What's the first year that you played fantasy, Dalton?
Oh, I'd have to think of that. 94-ish, maybe.
Okay. So we actually, you're younger than me, but about the same time. I think I started in like 92.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would say right around there for me. And only thing I let you take the floor, but I just remember getting the USA Today that wouldn't come out till Tuesdays to do my scoring by hand in a 3-team league. Me and 2 people is what I started with. I was in the 7th grade or something. And then in high school, you get buddies together. But yeah, man, I was obsessed when I was that young. So let's hear even older, archaic Andy.
The the dumbest rule we had when I first played was we required, I don't know why we did this. We required backups at each position. So you had to carry 2 defenses and 2 kickers. It was, I think we had a traditional bench. I think we had just like a 6-person bench, and everybody carrying 2 kickers and 2 defenses. And this league happens to have been together for about, I'm thinking of like a college buddies league. We've been together for 30 plus years. It's my longest running league. I'm trying to get the whole portfolio off of Yahoo. There's no effing way I'm going to be able to get this league off of Yahoo because these guys can barely log in and draft a team. So it's going to be like the one thing that stays there. It's going to be the one thing that tethers me to Yahoo forever. But like 3 of these guys still to this day carry 2 kickers and 2 defenses. It took us a decade to strike that rule from the rule book. And some of them just still do it because they have not, mentally they haven't updated. They check in for the draft and they set their lineups each week and they make 0 ad drops. And so I should have won this league. I should have won this league like 25 times. And I want to say I've been the 1 seed in this thing. I don't know, a lot. Probably in half of our seasons, maybe a little bit less, but pretty close. I've always been good, but we also have and this is the other archaic thing about this league, we have an 8-team playoff, which that's fine if you have a 16-team league or larger. It is
Yeah,
not cool in a
12.
12-team
Yes,
league.
yes.
Like
I've been one
everyone
of those
shouldn't make
still.
the
I'm in one of
playoffs.
those still. Yes, that's a joke.
I I bet my lifetime record as a 1 seed playing the 8 seed is like, if you told me it was 5-30, I'd be like, yeah, that checks out.
I was going to say, not only does everyone make it, but then the one doesn't get a bye that way, so then it's more likely to lose too. Yes,
Yep.
I'm in a league just like that. We do know why it's called rotisserie. I'm sure you know this, right, Andy? You know that, right? Of course.
The first baseball league drafted at the rotisserie
Yeah,
grill,
rotisserie
right?
chicken place. Yeah, that's literally why it was called. And then all the rotos that spawned from that. Pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great way to end it. Actually, this is a great way to end it.
Yeah, we got to get Colin in here.
Kushner,
Come on. Yeah, I was hoping.
former coworker checking in. This is going to be James Vandenberg for me. Look at Colin, like a deep dive on Iowa names. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Colin knows his Iowa
the Berg.
sports.
Yeah, you got to go the Berg.
Colin's he's just a secret Iowa fan when it comes right down to it. He fronts like he's a Sun Devils fan, but he doesn't care. He's a Hawkeye guy. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the Monday night doubleheader. I mean, it's really, I don't know, it's a kind of an afterthought game. And then it's the main event. It's Bears, it's Commanders. It's the one matchup that everybody's talking about. Bears, the hottest team in football. Enjoy it. Also, if you're a subscriber, first of all, if you're not a subscriber, we do this every Monday night, and you guys should jump in. You should subscribe. It's cheap. It's $5 a month. Just go to the Deep Shot, subscribe real quick. You'll get an invitation to the Discord. Every Monday night we have a watch party in the Discord. The Discord is wild. It's raucous. It's a little debaucherous. It's fun. So join us there. I'm gonna head over to the watch party. I'm gonna get that fired up right now. Thanks everybody for joining us. This was great. Thank you, Dalton. Have a good night and good luck tonight with whatever you need.
Yeah, cheers, everyone.